Hey guys, welcome back. So this is Corbin Hostler, and this week we have, I think this qualifies as spicy. I would say so. The return of Dredge. For those of you who don't know, Dredge was the absolute terror of Extended for a very long time back when Extended existed. It's a very good legacy deck that will kill people out of nowhere in the first couple turns. Obviously, with Bazaar of Baghdad and Vintage, it's a powerful Vintage deck. It does it all, and that's why when Modern was created, there was a handful of cards on the ban list because of Dredge. Since then, it turns out Dredge really didn't do anything. It wasn't that great in Modern with the ban list as it was. And one of those cards was Golgari Grave Troll. So they actually unbanned Grave Troll to see if they could push along something like this in a fair way. Didn't really do much. But Dread Return is still on the ban list, and that's the big one. So let's walk through the deck, because I understand not everyone may be familiar with how Dredge works. Basically, what you want to do is get a ton of creatures into your graveyard, and there's different ways that you do that, but the main one is by dredging, because instead of drawing a card, you can dredge whatever the number is and put that into your graveyard to return that card to your hand. So for Grave Troll, for instance, if it's in your graveyard, you can mill 6 cards from yourself to put this back in your hand, and that will fill up your graveyard very fast. So the ways that you do that is the Golgari Grave Troll, the Stinkweed Imp, which has Dredge 5, and then Golgari Thug, which has Dredge 4, as well as a ability that is relevant that we'll get to. Of course, so then, that's what we want to do. How do we do that? We have to get those cards into our graveyard. And that's where Faithless Looting comes into play. This is one of the best enablers in Modern for it. You draw 2, then you get to discard them. And if you do have them in your graveyard, then it's 2 draws that you get to replace with dredging. Now here's the interesting thing, though, is this 1-drop Insolent Neonate from Shadows over Innistrad. You sort of know this as a Madness enabler in Draft, but it's actually really absurd in this deck because the discard a card, sacrifice it, then draw means that you actually can put your Dredge card into the graveyard before draw, and then you can replace the draw trigger with that Dredge ability. So on turn 1, you can play an Insolent Neonate and discard a Grave Troll, and then immediately dredge 6 right there on your first turn. And that allows you to put the value creatures into your graveyard, which are both the dredgers as well as sort of the payoff. And the payoff is Bloodgas, of course, comes into play whenever you play land. Prized Amalgam, which works incredibly well with Bloodgas, because Bloodgas will come into play, and then this will come into play at the end of the turn. And then the other thing when you're milling yourself is Narcomoeba, which will go directly into play from your library. Instead of the graveyard. And this is really important to the Legacy Dredge decks because this is what they use to flash back Dread Return, which is, sacrifice 3 creatures as a flashback cost, and that allows them to return something big from their graveyard. More importantly, it allows them to trigger Bridge from Below. And Bridge from the Low is whenever one of your creatures dies, if its Bridge from your low is in your graveyard, you get a 2/2 zombie. Whenever a creature your opponent controls dies, you remove all the Bridge from Belows in your graveyard. But you have these turns where you can get 1 or 2 Bridge from Belows in your graveyard extremely fast, and then you sacrifice your Neonate, and you get 2 zombies, and you get to dredge a lot more, and then you're returning Bloodgas and Prized Amalgams, and after that, there's not sort of that combo with Dread Return, but there is just the ability it makes your opponent's attacks awkward because you can just chump block with Narcomoeba, and you'll get, 2 or 3 zombies or whatever. Additionally, Greater Gargadon, which is the closest replacement to Dread Return we have, you can suspend it early on in the game and then sacrifice your things to it to lower the suspend counters. So not only is the payoff on this a 9/7, which will have haste when it comes off suspend, but it's a sacrifice outlet for your Narcomoebas and your Bloodgas and your Dredge creatures even, to power those Bridge from Belows and make an army of zombies very quickly. So that's sort of the deck in a nutshell. I mean, I understand it's a lot to take in, but once you see it in action, it'll all make a lot more sense. Gitaxian Probe and Street Race, the last cards in the deck, they're ways to draw cards without using mana, so it speeds it up. You get to pay life instead, and that's relevant when you're replacing that draw with a dredge. So something like on turn 1, maybe you Faithless Looting, and you put a Grave Troll and Bloodgas or something in your graveyard, and then you could Taxium Probe and Dredge and hit a bridge, and then you just bring all this back, and the Bloodghast comes back, and maybe a Prized Amalgam comes back, and you just have 10 power on turn 2, something like that. It's actually gets out of hand pretty nuts, pretty quickly, gets pretty crazy. So the mana base, of course, to make this happen is very painful, as you might imagine with all these colors. Only 13 lands, because this deck aims to be quick. 1 basic, so you can fetch it off a path. But the mana confluences and the City of Brasses to make any mana you need. Damn the consequences. Gemstone Mine, same thing. It only works for a few turns, but it'll give you whatever you need. And then the Dakmor Salvage is sort of this value card that has Dredge itself, can kind of work in a pin. So that's the deck. Now let's move on to the sideboard where we have some generic options. Lightning Axe, it's another discard outlet as well as allowing you to kill creatures when you need to. Ancient Grudge for the matchups where you'll want that. Spell Pierces for the combo matchups. Pithy Needles and Nature's Claims, which are very important to deal with the graveyard hate that will undoubtedly be coming in against you. These, you'll usually be naming Relic Progenitus with Needle. Nature's Claim will deal with any of them. Knot of the Bone against the aggro/burn matchups. You can gain a bunch of life, put it out of reach pretty quickly for those burn decks. And then Vengeful Pharaoh. This is a great grindy card. This is actually a really fun one. Whenever a creature deals damage to you or a planeswalker you control, if Vengeful Pharaoh is in your graveyard, you can put it on top of your library and destroy that one of those creatures. So it's just a nice value card, and then you're going to dredge it away. And then Dark Blast, same thing. It's great against all the decks with Mana Dorks or Affinity or something like that. And itself has Dredge 3. So that's the deck. I know it's a lot to take in. It makes sense when you watch it play, and it's actually pretty insane. So we'll see how it works out for us here.